All right, welcome. I'm Scott Patton. He's Martin Patella. We're the founders and admins for the Facebook Fibromyalgia Support and Solutions group. And we wanted to take a more active role in the group and answer some of your questions. So if you've got any comments, please put them in the comments. It's a private group. Nobody outside of the group can see it. And we took a look at we saw a post and we really felt for the person. She posted a picture of herself. She had red rashes all over her face. And I want to read what she wrote. And then Martin and I will discuss that. There's also a few comments from other people. And we think this would be really helpful for you. I know this is random, but I need help. This is me after showers every time. I can't take hot showers because I feel lightheaded. So no, it's not from heat. I also get it during anxiety episodes every now and then. But my rheumatologist did my ANA test and she said everything came back as she expected. And I only had fibromyalgia, which started at the beginning of this year. We don't know how old she is, but she's probably in her mid-20s to mid-30s. I feel terrible 24/7. I didn't know your symptoms could drastically get worse over months. I feel like they're missing something, they being the doctor. I'm having electric shock sensations now, like I feel I'm going to have a seizure, but I don't. And I have severe vertigo, severe tinnitus, ringings in the ear. I cannot regulate temperature at all, severe shaking, my feet sweat. I get like diabetes symptoms, but I don't have it. I did a tilt table test a few months ago and that came back good. But then when I stand up, my heart rate jumps. I feel dizzy and lightheaded. Palpitations are getting more frequent when I go up and down stairs or do anything really. I feel like my heart is going to explode when I laugh too much or get excited too much. My heart feels crazy and I get flutters. I feel like I'm going crazy. Please help. And P.S. Every time I say something to my rheumatologist, she says, "It's just fibromyalgia. I'm sorry. That is what it is." I also get starry vision a lot, more frequent and severe migraines. It literally feels like I'm getting worse as the days go on with new and worsening symptoms. Well, I would say yes, it is definitely getting worse.
Yeah, let me butt in here. So we're looking at a young woman, indeed, looked about 25 to 35, flushed face. The flushing is histamine. Histamine is the signaling molecule for excitement. It's associated with arousal. So even sexual arousal will get you flushed. That's why you see people blushing either in their face or up here on the neck and chest. That's a histamine flare. Histamine is the signaling molecule that causes the symptoms, and they could be in any organ, any system. It could be neurological, it could be reproductive, it could be muscles, digestion, you name it. So these clusters of different symptoms, she just hit so many circuits. For example, the tinnitus that's in the brain, the dizziness that's in the brain. Anyway, all of the symptoms that she's listing are associated with thyroid dysregulation. She would qualify easily for either hypothyroid or hyperthyroid or swinging from one to the other. The most likely culprit in here is some sort of a viral infection, quote unquote. We would associate it either with Epstein-Barr, the one that's causing mononucleosis, or sometimes Lyme disease, or we would associate it with perhaps the mRNA shots, whether it's by acquisition, whether it's wild caught or injected, I don't know. But it would come with that sort of thing. So, for example, the fluttering of the heart, the what did she call it? Palpitations. That's thyroid stuff. The most underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed stuff, illness, dysfunction, is thyroid function, especially in women. Because when you get tested by the ordinary mainstream doctors, they have the range, and the range is set too wide, and you could be over and under, and it's that your normal is within the broad normal, but you're not in your normal, meaning you could be off for you and it still will appear normal. It's in range. Nothing to say here. Same for the ANA, right? That's the antibodies for rheumatoid arthritis or for lupus or something like that. Those, again, you may not catch that. Our approach would be to try and get you checking your morning temperature first thing in the morning. I would speculate that you're cold or hot. I don't know, one or the other. We would like to re-regulate it. You're probably a poor T4 to T3 converter. We could help you with that. The main supplement for that is selenium. The main supplement for the iodine, for the thyroid regulation, is detoxified atomic iodine. You need to get the right kind of iodine. So that's the thyroid stuff. And then there's much more going on, right? Classic dysregulation. We are dealing with this. Now, what is causing your histamine release? Mast cell is the organ or organelle in the human body that releases the histamine. There is now such a thing as the syndrome called MCAS, mast cell, whatever the A stands for, syndrome, activation probably.
Martin, what is the mast cell?
It's part of the immune system. It's part of the regulatory system. These are specialized cells whose job it is to release, to degranulate. They're like little flowers that open and release the pollen in the air. It's a whole lot like the allergy season, a puff of signaling molecules, and they're being released. And of course, it's like a nuclear reaction where one triggers the other, and it's like a chain reaction where all of a sudden, from a small input, a fairly large response is received.
So that's kind of important to know, right? Like what you've just said is there could be a small thing that happens, but it just grows.
Chain reaction. Yeah.
Chain reaction, right?
Yeah.
Because
so
often
you have the shower.
Look for things that are big, right? We look for like this massive something, whereas no, it can be just a little thing, and your body's going to react.
Yeah, and you have an over-responsive system, right? There are two branches to the immune system, which are the innate and the acquired. And the innate is what you're born with, and as an infant, and it's the stuff that responds quickly to all new threats. And the acquired is highly specialized, not general, and it creates antibodies, and you will have antibodies specific to things like an antibody to mumps, an antibody to chicken pox, an antibody to something, whatever.
Measles.
And those specific ones are acquired. And lately they have been getting acquired technologically through injections instead of naturally through normal exposure. Well, anyway, in your body, I think that the innate is overactive. You can look up Th1 and Th2 foods. Yeah, T is a T cell, H is a helper. So T cell helper 1 supports the innate, the Th2 supports the acquired, and you have dysregulation. And so when you eat more of the ones that support the opposite, you will get lesser symptoms. There are web pages out there. If you search on it, you'll find it. Important.
So once again, just jumping in the shower isn't what's necessary. It can be the trigger, but what's behind it could be what you're eating, could be your stress level. There's a whole bunch of potential reasons why you could be overreacting.
Yeah. Again, we're dealing with the total load. As always, toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, trauma. Those are the main categories of the inputs that you have control over, that you can adjust, right? Like, you don't get to control your genetics. Your genetics are behind this. They load the gun, so to speak. And then the other things that load the gun is the environment, what you've lived up to now. And it's cumulative. It's sort of like living in an aquarium. If I were a fish living in an aquarium, everything that gets tossed into the aquarium is adding to the fluid, the medium in which I exist. Well, we humans on this planet are living in this aquarium that the Industrial Revolution is making more toxic with each day. There's more herbicide, more pesticide, more heavy metal, more organic volatile compound, more Teflon-like forever chemistry pushing in.
Right.
So a young person today is worse off than a young person 50 years ago.
They're starting from a far more toxic place, right?
Yeah. Their childhood is toxic, more toxic than the old person's childhood was.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would be, when we talk about childhoods being toxic, that would be from a mental and emotional standpoint. It would also be from an environmental standpoint. Because I'm thinking of the shows that I watched when I was a kid. We only had 3 channels, and we weren't allowed to watch that much TV. And then I think of, Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 32, that every kid has watched 3 times, the whole series of movies 3 times, and been scared out of their, pajamas. So that's, even if everything was fine, just stuff that we're watching on TV can be traumatic.
Yeah.
And then you have the quality of the food that you eat, the quality of the liquids that you drink.
Yeah. One more thing I want to jump in with is the following. Hormones, especially in women, especially in young age, especially those who start using hormonal contraceptives. I don't know the answer. I haven't had a chance to talk to her. But if she is on estrogen type oral contraceptive, it's raising the level of estrogen, or it's dysregulating her natural rhythms. So she will more likely than not be dysregulated. There are 2 types of estrogen. One is proliferative, the other one is non-proliferative. You need to worry about the proliferative one because that's the one that raises the risk of cancer. But you can take the non-proliferative to make it less of a problem. The other one is progesterone. That's the hormone that makes you calmer, that makes you less responsive, more able to sleep, and more able to resist getting overly excited. It's the calming hormone. So there's some imbalance in the overall hormonal makeup, probably in favor of estrogen and disfavor of progesterone in this specific woman. And it should get corrected. It's correctable. It's quite unusual to be reaching for bioidentical hormones at young age. Maybe there are some other reasons why we could figure out why her balance is off, right? But we would need to investigate.
So, Martin, there was a comment that I want to bring up because you'll allow me to just read it. I have this problem too. I have to use a steroid cream every day, and I've done that since I was 13 years old. And then they show a picture of them with the rashes and everything else, and says, this is what happens when I don't use it for 2 days. So in other words, this woman has this reaction, this rash, and I'm not saying it's the same as the first person at all. She commented on this post saying that she has the same problem, and she uses a steroid cream. So
Yeah.
let's comment a
Okay,
little
so
bit on.
that's a beautiful opening. Steroids, corticosteroids specifically, are the hormones that suppress the immune system. So your body is reacting to stuff and creating a reaction, and you're putting a blanket over the fire, so to speak, with the steroid. The problem is that you're not dealing with the cause of it, you're just dealing with the symptom of it. So you're not solving the problem, you're masking the problem. Ultimately, it will cause more harm than good.
Well, that's what I was going to say is if you're putting something on your skin every day and it's steroids, that's that.
Well, there are these really big deal steroids that are given to people who have joint pain, for example. The kind of steroids that make your face look like a moon face. You could see that. I don't know if you watch television, but for example, Simon Cowell on the show, what was the show called? America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
So you could see over the years that he had a slim face, then he had a moon face, and then he had regular face again. He was in his steroid use for some time, and it came into use after he had his injury. He fell off of a bike and something like that, and he got injured, and he had problems. But because he is in the public and he's documented every week on the show, you can see the symptoms right there. Just check the timeline. Anyway, so you can be on it for some time. The recommended length is 6 weeks.
So not since you're 13.
Yeah, bad news.
So we say this often, if you watched any of our other videos, that it's like driving a car and the engine light comes on. And so you take the gum out of your mouth and you just stick it over the light so you don't see it and keep driving. And oftentimes that's the solution that we have. It's like, I'll just do something so I don't know I have a problem. But the problem is still there and it's not likely to be getting better. So you need to take off the bubble gum and start dealing with the issue, right?
Yeah.
Get the oil
change. More likely this problem is more like having a leaky tire that you keep getting pumped up with air without dealing with the fact that there is actually a leak in the tire. And so one day you will lose access to the steroids, and this is what my face looks like if I don't use steroids for 2 days, right? What if you can't get the steroids? It'll blow up. What if there's another thing here, which is called the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is controlling the stuff that you don't necessarily think of. Your heart rate, your digestive process, is it on, is it off, the speed with which you're digesting and eliminating, and so on. 2 branches to it: fight or flight, known as sympathetic; rest and repair, known as parasympathetic. And you want to be more in the parasympathetic, repairing, rather than in the sympathetic, destroying. In the sympathetic, you're focusing on preserving your life in the next 5 to 10 minutes. You flood your body with glucose. You're raising your ability to run, fight, whatever. You're flooding your body with cortisol, which is the hormone that is driving blood pressure up and shutting down digestion and so on. Many things happen. And it's controlled by the nerve that's known as the vagus or vagus nerve. It comes out of your brain somewhere up here, just behind your or below your ear. And then it has 2 branches, left and right, and it runs throughout the body, touching every organ because it's collecting information throughout your body. And if you have vagal dysregulation, you are suffering from things like this red face, or the fainting, or the sudden headache, or the ringing in the ears. Those are all symptoms of dysregulation of the central system. There could be a mechanical problem. Chiropractors that specialize in vagus nerve could help you if you have something going on in here at the base of your neck. There's more to it.
Right.
We
So I think, Martin, this is a good point in the conversation for us to sort of stop and say, listen, you can do stuff about it. Like you just said, go see a chiropractor, have a consultation with Martin and talk about different things. Check out the vagus nerve. There was a few other things that you had mentioned earlier about checking out. So there is hope. However, if you're not willing to fix the leak in your tire, eventually it can get bigger and bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden you don't have a tire when you're running down the highway. So, if you don't do something, and this is what she said, right? Like, this is seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Like, I think she thought, oh, I have fibromyalgia, it's going to be like this forever. Not likely. Things always change. Sometimes they can get better and sometimes they can get worse. And it really depends on you and taking some actions and trying different things, because your doctor certainly doesn't know the answer. They don't actually half the time even believe you. So you need to be looking at alternatives, which would be chiropractic, functional medicine, what is your toxicity and those sort of things.
Yeah, let me make a brief point about the pharmaceutical medicine and the way doctors are educated. What happens is, since about 115 years ago, Rockefeller and Carnegie decided that they are going to take control of medicine, and through their foundations, they became the controllers of universities and what is taught and what is researched and what is promoted. And now we have a health care system that is top down. The pharmaceutical companies in cahoots with the universities, teaching courses that only promote pharmaceutical method of healing. And so now in cahoots with the insurance companies, they have this program that's essentially saying we have a standard of care in which we have decided what we're going to prescribe, and only pharmaceutical type of things are being prescribed. But here's the critical point. Pharmaceutical stuff works well on a single symptom problem. Like, for example, you have a fever, you can take an antipyretic and your fever comes down. You have a simple headache, I'll take a painkiller, it'll stop the pain. The problem is with fibromyalgia, you have 14 or 15 different problems. So when you start addressing that with 14 or 15 different pills, well, by the time you hit the third one, you're already into side effects that you're having to try and mitigate with the fourth pill. It becomes such a cluster of problems that you become so toxic so fast trying to do it, or else you start seeing failures. And that's what you hear from others, is we are bringing in the, what are they? Solutions, lowering your symptoms, but creating others.
Right. Yeah. The side effects just get worse and worse. The dosage goes higher and higher and higher until all of a sudden you really crash.
Anyway, so Scott said it. You need to figure out a plan. There is a plan. There is a program. We have a method tested 1,000 times over with which we can help you unpack this problem and peel back this onion one layer at a time. Yes, we will help you re-inflate the tire. We will buy you time so you can drive all the way to the shop, and we'll take you to the shop and we will figure out the leaks in your tires, all of them, not just the one. And after they're all fixed, you'll be good on the road. I promise.
Right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and watching to the end. If you've got any questions or comments, put them in the comments below. And this is the Life Enthusiast Health Shots show on the Fibromyalgia Group page. And we're here to restore vitality to you and the planet. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.